slip on a pair of Nikes or Adidas's. All these things you probably take for granted. Now think about the other half of the world. For them, breakfast is not always a must. Having a phone is a luxury, and being able to buy branded shoes is unthinkable. This is usually because the people don't earn enough money to be able to afford all these things. In the beginning, I thought that the minimum wage would solve all this, so I frankly didn't really care. However, I realized that I may want to work in Hong Kong one day, and the law will affect me, the amount I earn, and the people around me, so I started getting interested. This law may affect many of you in the future if you choose to go into business and work in Hong Kong. Although we might not admit it, most of us probably care about how much we earn and how we spend money. Also, many of you probably care about the poor, and the minimum wage is directly related to the living standards of the poor. Therefore, I decided to research the controversy surrounding this topic and found out that one side of the issue has far more positives than negatives. If the minimum wage is raised higher, then it will cause prices to increase. A basic law of economics is that as cost increases, profit must also increase as a result, or a company may go out of business. The cost of labor increases due to the minimum wage law, so the price of products will increase in order for profit to increase. If some products get more expensive than they already are, it is definitely not beneficial to the people of Hong Kong, especially the poor. Prices will keep on rising if the minimum wage is raised higher and higher. Although this might not be the case for every single product, it will affect quite a few number of products. James Wong, the owner of one of many small restaurants across Hong Kong, owns a noodle shop, and he says in an interview with the South China Morning Post that if the waiters get 33 Hong Kong dollars, then he will have to pay the chefs at least 40 Hong Kong dollars because they are more skilled. In order to cover these labor costs, he says, he will have to hike up the cost of a bowl of noodles by at least 1/3. In Hong Kong, wonton noodles are known for being quick to make and cheap. Increasing its price defeats its whole purpose. Terry Miller, the director of the Center for International Trade and Economics at the Heritage Foundation, says that life may not get much better for the city's poorest citizens, with job losses and rising food prices a likely consequence of the new pay law. In order to keep prices down, Hong Kong should not have a minimum wage. A minimum wage would also cause unemployment rate to rise. If the minimum wage is raised to $33 an hour, the amount suggested by labor unions, or even $28, a more compromised wage, smaller businesses such as minor restaurants and factories which cannot deal with the extra costs will have to close down, increasing unemployment. According to an analysis report by The Economist, Miriam Lau, the Legislative Council, said that if the minimum wage was raised to $28 an hour, then 100,000 jobs would go. If the minimum wage was raised to $33 an hour, the amount suggested by labor unions, 170,000 jobs would go, which is doubling unemployment. This would harshly affect the economy, with many people living unemployed who require help from the government. Not all workers agree with the minimum wage. In an interview with the South China Morning Post, an elderly worker says that he is afraid that the minimum wage will cause him to be replaced by younger, healthier workers, giving him no means by which to support himself. To keep the unemployment rate down, a minimum wage should not be implemented. Minimum wage can cause an increase in prices and can cause unemployment to rise, so therefore Hong Kong should not have a minimum wage. Many of you might be concerned about the poor and think that a minimum wage would solve the problem of the poor living in poverty by increasing the amount of money they earn. However, this is not the case. As proven before, a minimum wage could very likely deepen the poverty problem because it would cause unemployment and prices to rise. If we keep everything as it is now, the poverty problem won't get worse. Some of you say that in countries that have implemented the minimum wage, the low-paid workers are now much better off. But the minimum wage only solves the problem for those who have a job. What about those who don't have a job, those who are unemployed? They get nothing. The minimum wage pays no regard to whether one is rich or poor, or how many mouths one has to feed. Even those who do earn a wage often have oversized needs because they have to care for large households. Others might be concerned about the income disparity or the wealth gap between the rich and the poor. Instead of minimum wage, what we really need is an income support program. I recommend the basic income. The basic income is a type of social security which pays every citizen a certain amount of money to cover expenses such as food and housing. The basic income would be distributed to all individuals earning less than a certain amount per month. If we believe that everyone deserves a minimum amount of money to live on, why can't we be transparent about these entitlements and use the state to redistribute wealth instead of trying to do it through the ineffective mechanism of minimum wage? One of the most poignant examples of its success is the American EITC, or the Earned Income Tax Credit, which is basically the same as basic income. In a study done by the Center on Budget or Policy Priorities, the EITC lifted almost 6.6 million people out of poverty in 2009, including 3.3 million children. The poverty rate among children would have been at least 1/3 higher without the EITC. In this way, the boy who would drop out after secondary school to support his family might choose instead to continue on to business or medical school, knowing his parents will be provided for. Ladies and gentlemen, although the minimum wage may seem like a good law designed for the good of all citizens of Hong Kong, please remember that it's not what it appears to be. A minimum wage could cause prices to skyrocket, or workers' salary to decrease, and businesses to go bankrupt. Its harmful effects greatly outweigh its benefits, and it should not be enforced. As high school students, I'm guessing that even if I do give you the email or the mailing address of the Legislative Council, you're not going to go right to them. So I just suggest the first steps that you take is to talk to your parents and your friends. Correct their misled opinions and suggest to them the idea of basic income. You can also go to these following sites to find more information about the minimum wage. For any queries, you can always contact me at natalie@gmail.com. Thank you.